What is the current guiding principle of this Republican Party? Do you see a way that changes in the future?
I think there are two guiding principles. One, anti-democracy. They're opposed to democracy. They want fewer people to vote so that hopefully they can turn out their white supporters and maintain their grip on power as the country changes demographically and leaves them behind. And the second, of course, is this adulation of Donald Trump, who himself doesn't stand for anything but simply stands for Donald Trump. So I agree with your analysis entirely. And I think one of the reasons why you see these sort of ridiculous culture wars is they have to keep the pot stirring. They have to keep the base angry, and anger and engagement for them is the same thing. So without Donald Trump to tweet every day and get them exercised over this or that, it leaves the rest of them to come up with these, as you say, banning hamburger or Dr. Seuss or whatever the latest nonsense is, which of course has nothing to actually do with our politics and with public policy. So I think they're not even trying to imitate a political party anymore. They don't have ideals. They don't have principles. They don't even have a response to the president. That was a hot mess of a speech that Tim Scott gave. He may be a nice and admirable man, but there was no content to that speech. There was not a single idea he advanced. He gave Donald Trump, who killed hundreds of thousands of people by failing to attack the coronavirus, credit. It's kind of a weird time warp when you go in and listen to these people. It's a parallel universe.
Well, I think we learned a lot about the heart of the Republican Party in the first 4 years. And I think that's the most telling lesson of the Trump era. Look, I would make the case there is a soft ideological line that continues to thread through the Republican Party, largely anti-tax and anti-regulation. And you could make the case irresponsibly so based on recent enactment of that agenda. Perhaps there were some aberrations during Trump with a more populist trade policy, clearly an abandonment of fiscal responsibility as it relates to the debt and the deficit. But I think what we learned about the Republican Party that was most telling is that it was a party willing to elevate and celebrate a leader, a president, who routinely attacked and undermined our very republic and our democracy. He undermined our security alliances with the West. He undermined our intelligence agencies. He undermined our judiciary, our press. He undermined the right of peaceful assembly. He undermined our own public health. He was a president impeached twice, including the second time for the attacks of January 6th. And yet, what we learned about the Republican Party is they're okay with that. And in fact, they're willing to do it all over again if it gives them the keys to power in Washington, D.C. That's the most damning thing we've learned about the Republican Party. That has not gone away. Adam's tweet is right. I think a lot of Republicans are just assuming that none of this ever happened. They're happy with the accomplishments of Donald Trump. There is zero self-reflection on the man himself that they celebrated and that they elevated to the Oval Office, and would do so again in 24 if he ran.
Well, one of the reasons Donald Trump took over the Republican Party was because they had kind of run into an intellectual cul-de-sac. The ideas from the 1980s really don't have much salience now. And you can see by their defense of corporate America and their defense of Reaganomics that that kind of stuff just doesn't sell in America. So I wouldn't recommend that they go back to an ideology that's now going on 40 years old. I think they have to sit down and think about what they have to offer that is relevant, that is acceptable, and that gives a future for them and the country. And they've not done that hard work. They just haven't.